Hi, Rob Hose is my name. I've been around this place sailing boats for the last 50 years and lucky to be a part of the first group who joined this club back in the 50s. When we were down, our main focus was just having fun mucking around in boats. We had St Kilda 8s, 12-foot cadets, heavyweight Sharpies, VJs, no organised racing, mainly boat repairs and stuff. We got into boats, we got a certificate of competency by jumping off the end of the pier, you know, in our wet clothes and swimming ashore without life jackets. We did what we called the Stan Taggart certificate of ropes and splices, and that really prepared us for going to town in the water. And at the same time, around 57, we as a small group, about 5 of us, mailed off to Yachting World magazine and ordered plans, 5 of them, about £2 each. We built the boats from scratch in our own garages around this place. There was John Stamp in Excalibur 3. There was Scotty Larson in Viking. There was Darryl and Alan Mackenzie and Lindy Lou and Landy 2, and there was myself in a boat called Nautilus. We sailed these boats for about 2 years. The club, racing off the breakwater, starts from Jack Gerald's starts and off the box. I remember when we built these boats, they cost us about £50 each. The only thing we didn't build was the sails.
I got down here at the age of about 14 in about 1961, I think it was. Bumped into a lot of terrific people down here. I met someone assigned me the heaviest old clunker in the fleet called Lulu, and I bumped into a chap by the name of Tom Stevenson, who was assigned as my crew, and we had a great couple of years. Through Tom, met his father Alan, and Alan of course was the instigator of the Meetung expedition every Easter, which has gone on for the last 50 years or so as well. Alan was a terrific guy, would do anything for kids, built us a boat called Yeoman, which Tom and I went on and won a few yacht races in. And Tom went on after that, and his father built him another boat, Yeoman too. But there are some terrific people down here in those days, guys by the name of David Allen, Roger Johnson, Roger Voges was there, Peter McAdam, Peter Tilley, Don Vance, Jeff Corkill was a great competitor of mine, Peter Takel, another bloke that was around crewing for us in those days. There's so many memories and so many good times, and a lot of good people involved over the years.
I first became involved with the cadets in the mid-1970s when Christopher started sailing as a crew. And Ron White bailed me up in the yard one day. He was Commodore, and he said, I'd like you to join the cadet committee, I'd like you to help out, because the juniors, the young members, are the future of the club. He said, I sit at new members' nights month after month, and people come along and I say, why do you want to join the club? And they say, because of the facilities, because of the moorings, because of the marina, because of all the activities. But he said, give me a junior who's come up through the club and he'll say, what can I do for the club, not what can the club do for me. So I joined the cadet committee when Dave Strong was just finished up as cadet chairman, and John Blythe had taken over. It wasn't long before I found myself cadet chairman, and then had to go to general committee meetings of the club. It was an interesting period in the club, a period of great development, and lots of cadets were active and doing quite well in state and national championships, and the club was very proud of its record sending cadets overseas. We outgrew the area that we had. The old facilities had been built for the 1956 Olympics for the Finn class. The highlight of the period that I was involved would be the building of the new cadet centre, and it was great to see the old one be flattened. I well remember when we were given the task of saving the committee money by doing the demolition ourselves. I shudder to think of the health and safety issues today, but we reduced the old building to a skeleton, and then we thought we could complete the job very easily, and we tied the rest of the building to the tow bar of Richard Kenny's car, and he drove off and the whole place collapsed with a huge bang and a loud cheer. The new cadet centre was the pride and joy of the club and the bay and the juniors. And I suppose the other highlights would have been the royal visit, as a second visit of the Duke of Edinburgh, and the cadets formed a Guard of Honour. And the highlight of the Guard of Honour was the cadet that was the national champion, Barclay Nettlefold, and Michael Cook had won the nationals in Tassie, and they were heading off overseas. And when the Duke came down and looked at the vessel and looked at Barclay, who was quite a tall lad, and Duke and I were fairly tall, and he looked at Michael Cook, who was called Micro, because at that stage in his life he was very small. And the Duke, in an aside, said to me, "How do you race him? Do you put lead in his knickers?" And he showed a great interest in the cadets, talked to them for quite a long time, and was very impressed with the whole setup of the club. The other highlight, I would think, would be in 1985-86 Christmas, when we were able to host the 19th Worlds and the 24th Nationals. And we were really thrilled to have acceptances from teams that came from India, Spain, the UK, Argentina and Holland, as well as that very big teams from South Australia, Tassie, who came to fight it out with the Victorians. It was a great time, and the first time the club had run a world championship, and it gave us a good experience that we were able to use later on for things like the OKs and the lasers. And if you have a lad who, a boy or a girl of course, if you have them coming up through the ranks, they have a loyalty to the club, and they will go on, and that's shown today. If you look at the role of flag officers and club captains, and see the people who are putting into the club today, the majority of them have come up through the cadet ranks. Likewise, as far as skills go, if you look at the number of international cadet sailors who've gone on to become national or world champions in other classes, both off the beach and in things like the Admiral's Cup and other events of world renown, the list is very long and impressive indeed. So I believe that much of the strength of the life and character of this club has been because those old people, like Ron White so many years ago, had the vision that we should build from the bottom up, not from the top down, and it certainly has borne fruit.
My name's Erin, and I was in sailing cadets from 95 to about 2001, I think. And through that time I met a lot of people, went a lot of places, and eventually ended up as cadet captain for a little while. I went to the 1996 Worlds in Bombay, India. I went to the 1997 Worlds in Torquay, England, and I went across to the Worlds in 1998 in Hellevoetsluis in Holland.
It's a bit of a privilege, I have to say, to be able to just talk briefly about, number one, my experience through boating, and especially my involvement with the international cadet class, my further sailing within Sandringham Yacht Club, which to me has probably been the making of me as a person. It goes back, I guess, to my father being a very, very involved sailor in his day. Unfortunately, with children and things, he couldn't go on with his sailing, and I think that was manifested perhaps in myself, because I did express an interest in sailing in a very early age, and he was behind me all the way. And I did start here Sandringham as a junior. As with all things as we get older, the date eludes me a little, but it certainly was in the late 50s, early 60s. And I was lucky enough to be given a club boat, thanks to the tutelage of Bruce Raywood, who saw many, many kids who didn't have the opportunity to go sailing. Bruce had the foresight, and thankfully the club at the same time, to enable lots of kids to get into boats, and it was one of those club boats, a boat called Lulu. It was the heaviest boat in the fleet. It had the slatted floorboards. I think I was probably the worst sailor, but I'm sure I had the best time. And it's been part of my credo ever since to enjoy yachting. Rule 1, have fun. There are generations of kids who have come through this club who have learnt that Rule 1 is have fun, Rule 2, do your best, and Rule 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 always refer back to Rule 1. I guess best memories going back to my childhood are obviously Meetung. I was lucky enough to be one of the first kids who went to Meetung at an early age. It was fabulous. I mean, we had Rex Newman, Alan Stevenson. Alan had his large boat down there. Rex would always come down with an entourage of boats along with Bruce Raywood. It does bring to mind a little bit of a story. My very good friend Rob Ware, who started sailing about the same time I did, both of us still sailing at the club. Rob and I decided that we were more than old enough to drive Rex's ute. As a couple of the older kids in the group, we were allowed to drive it only a couple of 100 yards. As was the custom, the parents would, after the racing was over for the day, the parents would retire to the clubhouse to have a couple of libations. And it was during this particular period of time that Rob and I decided that we would grab the ute, we'd do the Nungurna Road adventure, past the hot springs, up to the Nungurna Tee, turn around, come back to Meetung. This was fabulous, and about 15 or 16 other kids thought it was pretty good as well. We poured them into the back of the utility, up we went past the springs, up the Nungurna Road, hit the Nungurna T intersection, but we forgot it was there. The worst thing happened, obviously. We ended up in a ditch. We were there in the ute, 15 kids sprayed all around us. Thankfully, no one was injured. We had to wait for a passing motorist to come along. I don't know how he believed the story we told him. He dragged us out of the ditch, put all the kids back into the ute, back down to the yacht club, parked the ute where Rex thought he'd left it. I've got to tell you, it's taken me 30 years to admit to Rex the truth that I did pinch his ute, we did prang it, and it wasn't him pissed who put the dent in the front fender. After dubious beginnings in my cadet years, my own children decided they would want to get involved in sailing, and I obviously thought that was very, very important. So to give a little back to what I'd gained from the club, I involved myself very heavily in the off-the-beach area. I served as off-the-beach chairman, as it was in those years, for I think it was 3, perhaps 4 years. I then went through the ranks of committee flag officers, and I believe I have the dubious honour of being the first cadet that ever became Commodore of the club. The off-the-beach area still remains the most important part of club activity.
I was chairman of Off the Beach in the 90s. It was a fantastic experience, watching all the kids grow and learn how to sail, and thoroughly enjoyed the time I was working as a volunteer with the club. It was also good to work with other parents in running the races, because back in those days we didn't have the resources that the club has at the moment. We were limited on budget, and at one stage we didn't even have a committee boat to run the races, and I had to borrow club members' boats, which they voluntarily gave up for us. So that was great. Some of the highlights in my years was the Meetung regattas were great. Did 10 of those with Luke, and the other highlight was running the national titles at Sandringham, which was one of the biggest events that, or national titles that we've had for quite some time. We even had to hire the President Hotel's ballroom for the presentation night, because the club couldn't cater for the 350 people that we had. Other highlights was going to Mallorca with Luke in the World Championships. It was a fantastic experience to go over there and support the juniors from Australia. Go on, Luke!
Don't hit that mark, don't hit that mark. Oh no, Luke! Jesus!
Unbelievable, aren't they?
Come on, do your 360.
Well, the bomb's slow.
Don't muck it, just do it. Now, come on. Oh, that's not a Sunday bloody outing, Luke.
We had a great time. I think the parents had more fun than the kids.
We've just had lunch on the last day, right? And it was really good. We had garlic shrimps, garlic everything, and 2 big jugs of sangria. I can speak properly. We had to get the horse and cart because we can't walk.
But it was certainly a great experience. So all in all, you know, it's been good to see over the years the development of our kids coming through, sailing with in the club still. It's a fantastic environment for kids to grow up.
I was starting with that, Hendo, where you left off actually, because I'd never thought about it. The family involvement with this club, probably as much till now when I became the current Off the Beach chairman. And you look back when my dad was involved and when I was a junior captain and so forth, and it goes back through the generations that have come through this club and been involved in sailing are huge. It's just
and your brother also.
Yeah, and both of my brothers sailing, and to have them sailing with you and against you has been a fantastic experience. And then to go on from international cadets and all 3 of us sailing 14-foot skiffs, going to national championships with your brothers, I guess, and also with all of your peers that you've grown up with, the Vickery boys and so forth, and the McGeochs and so forth that got involved in 14-foot skiffs after international cadets. That was a great experience. Yeah, I guess my involvement coming through from international cadets, and we got a group of us together, and we Greg Bland bought the old Coral Sea, the Diamond, and his dad came up to us and said, "Oh, have you got a couple of young kids that like to sail on a Diamond?" So we got together, and a few of us, and sailed that for a couple of years, and then the 14-footers started kicking off, and we went from there. It's just, if you look at now, nearly 30 years on, the guys that are sailing 14-footers are all a little bit older, and just slightly, and but we're all still sailing. We're all still enjoying sailing and travelling around. Now we travel around the world sailing. We go to Hawaii together and England together and things like that. It's a really great and a unique experience to have guys you've sailed with or grown up with all your life sailing together. Yeah, well, we do have history repeating itself, I guess. My dad was off the beach chair. I'm now off the beach chair. I was the junior, or the cadet captain as it was back then. My son has come through, and he's the he was the junior captain 3 years ago. My niece, my brother's daughter, is now current junior captain. So it's quite a unique and fulfilling experience to be involved with the Off the Beach as it is today.
Quite a dynasty too.
It is actually. We go back 4 generations since my grandfather started sailing out of here in the 1920s. A major step forward in the international cadet class really has been the adoption of international cadets in Sydney at Wallara Sailing Club, and that's where the current national titles will be held this Christmas, and that'll be the first time. So it's taking it wider than Tasmania, South Australia and Victoria, which has been the strongholds over the years, and it's really, I think, I guess it's a testament to international cadets as the best two-handed training class and the best two-handed internationally recognised sailing class that juniors can get involved in.
For a couple of minutes to a fellow who is a previous Off the Beach chairman, in fact probably just about the longest serving of all time. I think he did about 8 years, which is something he deserves some sort of medal for. And he is also our club chaplain and our club historian, and known to many of you as Mr. Deers.
Wow, what an introduction. Isn't it great to be in a room full of off-the-beach people? Can you feel the vibes and the strength of character, not to mention the physique of many of these people, but the feeling of camaraderie and people who, with an off-the-beach background, know what they're on about, know which way's up, often know which way's north, generally know where the next mark is, and there's a really, really good feeling here. I'm sad that I was never a cadet. I joined the club when I was 17 and a half in 1956, and didn't get involved with the cadets until my kids started to show interest, and I came along with Christopher, and Dave Strong was the cadet chairman, and got involved a bit on the rosters, and then John Blythe took over, and then he asked me to go on the committee, and within the year I found out I was chairman, and because John Blythe had moved away. And the cadets used to get together in the old building which had been built for the Olympic Games, and many of you will remember it was a pretty basic sort of structure, and it had an open briefing room, and it had racks for hulls and spars, and it had the old lockers from the 56 Olympics, and there were no showers, no toilets. I don't think there was even running water, was there, Lee? I'm not sure. No, but we really went out of our way to encourage girls to be involved. In fact, when we built the new cadet centre, we thought, because there were no showers and toilets, well, we thought that was one of the first things to attend to. So we built a large change room and lots of toilets for the boys. You know how messy boys are, and we thought we would be really forward-thinking. So we put one shower, one toilet and a little change area in for the girls.
Yeah, there you go.
Here they are. Here they go.
I thought everybody was sick of listening to my voice on the beach. I'd like to thank the club for this presentation, and the old captain himself here, and Graham, and all the people that are coming up to me tonight. And by crikey, a lot of them might forget who they are. But they seem to recognise my ugly face. But thanks very much, it's been great, and thanks very much.
This is technical, I can't operate that. Okay, we'll keep going like this. There's two names on this. One of them sadly is not with us, but the other is. The one who's not with us said one day you'll be on committee, boy, in this yacht club. I didn't believe him, but here I am. The days at Meetung in the log cabin, and I remember going down and serving in the log cabin as the junior committee used to go and serve drinks for the cocktail party they had there, and this lady always said, I'll have a half brandy and dry. And so can I ask Una Newman to come forward on behalf of Una and Rex to accept this. I've got a quick, this will be a photo opportunity, and hopefully I saw one of the fellows' names was tags was still out there, but I'd like to ask the current state champions of the international cadet class to come forward and bring that trophy with you, monsters. These are two boys from Sandringham Yacht Club, Sam and Lewis Duncan, brothers in arms. There's a couple of state champions here in the audience, and if I can run through, and I hope I haven't missed anyone from Sandringham, there's a couple of people, very unfortunately, that can't be with us. Of course, Unfortunately, they passed away. But I'll start from the start. And back in I think it's about 61, is Tanara, was Jeff Corkill, followed by Yeoman, Tony Manning, and Tony Manning's here, so he can come up. Next one on the list is Yeoman 2, Tom Stevenson, and he's here, so he can come up. Next one is Sandora, David McKeon, unfortunately, and he passed away in a hang gliding accident, so he can't. The next one, Smasher, Argo 2, Ashley Dugan. Come on up, Ashley. Sidewinder, Adam Morrison. Encounter, Grant Allen. Sandy Boys, Ben Morrison Jack. Sidewinder, David Suter. And I saw this big bloke walk in, Scotty Walton, Sidewinder. Sidewinder, Max Archie. Spitfire, Drew Isaacs. Samaran, Adam Evans. And of course, the last one, the current champions, standing right next to me. I'll get these guys to have a photo. We'll be back in a couple of minutes to get through the rest of the program. Thank you very much.
I'm very pleased to introduce our guest of honour, who everyone realises, I think, is Tom Stevenson. And Tony asked me to say that while Tom is talking, if you don't want to listen to him, you can watch his video, because he's going to put on a really good video of Foxy Lady, and that'll be on the screen shortly. But to introduce Tom, and he really doesn't need a lot of introduction to most of you, I know, but he's the son of the great Alan Stevenson, who was an active sailor at the club, who with other parent members set up the first meat hung regatta. Alan owned Patricia T, you'd be remembered, a large motor vessel, and Tom started in cadets as crew to Tony Manning and Yeoman, and then he won the World Half-Ton Cup in Chicago. A year later, defending the title in Italy, he chartered an Irish yacht and finished fourth. The next year he built a Peterson one-tonner Pioneer Sound, which was sponsored by Pioneer. Of course, that was Les Black, our past Commodore of this club. The sponsorship was valued at $75,000, and at that time was the largest corporate sponsorship to date. He won the One-Ton Cup in Auckland, New Zealand in 1977. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to introduce a superstar, someone who's represented Australia in the Admiral's Cup, somebody that you all know well, Tom Stevenson. Give him a big hand.
Thanks very much, Graham, and that was certainly caught me by surprise. I certainly don't feel that I should be the guest of honour here. I think there's some fantastic people around, but anyway, I'll stand up on their behalf and say a few words. Firstly, I'll correct one thing, Graham. We didn't win the One-Ton Cup, and it's one of my only... if I've got a regret, that's one of them. We came fourth in the One-Ton Cup, but we then went on to be in the Australian team that won the first Pan Am Clipper Cup the following year, and we won the Around the State race in Hawaii by an amazing margin on IOR of 16 hours, which anyone that's done the IOR racing knows that to win an 800-mile race by that margin was pretty good. So I'll just correct the record there. But going on, just on a historical note, my involvement with this club dates back to 1955, when I can remember my father and a group of tremendous volunteers that this club's always seemed to be able to produce, building the original facilities for the 1956 Olympic Games. So I've probably seen as much of this club as almost anyone, albeit that I haven't been around here for the last 20 years or so. Thank you. I guess just with regard to the sailing we've done, it was terrific to have had the opportunity, and I think of anything you do in life, it's a matter of timing, and I think we were just around at the right time when the whole level rating concept of IOR racing was at its peak, and we were just there and were able to get involved and ride the leading edge of it. And I just feel that we were lucky to be there. We were lucky to have a really good group of very talented sailors at the time that got together, and we were surprised, I think ourselves as much as anyone else, that we were able to achieve some success in our first major international regatta. And it was great to hear Lou Abrams' name mentioned tonight. You know, so many of us guys were beneficiaries of great guys like him that gave us all an opportunity.
Thanks, Tom. Excuse my casual dress. I thought I was actually coming here as a pleb tonight, but so it was a little bit surprising me. But Tom, that's fantastic, and I think in terms of timeliness, it's just it just couldn't be better. To think this 50-year reunion tonight is just awesome, and just you walk around the crowd talking to people, and the stories that are there and what have you, and the history that's coming out because of tonight is brilliant. But I think in terms of timing, when you think about this clubhouse here is 50 years old, OTB is 50 years old, and we just started this week on the design of the new clubhouse. So what better way, and we've been talking about it this week. I had a past Commodore's dinner during the week, and one thing we said is that let's, between now and the opening of the new clubhouse, collect as much memorabilia, history, stories, and we're going to do a story and photo night, the club, between now and sometime next year, to start collecting some of this stuff, because what better way to present it in the new clubhouse, and this will take pride of place in the clubhouse. Don,
Tim Courtney, Pete Walters, Jay Martin, H. Morgan, Ashley Treble-Club, Robert Crick, Tim Dissy, Simon Kenny, David Seekley, Wes Green, Adam Morrison, Rachel Suter, James Ware, Scott Walton, Fraser Wall, Max Zaki, Dean Haller, A. Thompson, Drew Isaac, Felicity Kaufman, Aaron Foster, Lachlan Maddie, Ben Strong, Megan Orlick, and Todd Cousins.
I can ask Toddy, Megan, come on. You're never going to get in the photo.
Yeah, that's a great pick. That is a really good pick.
There's
Have you got that beer for me yet? Yes, I got it. Here it is, and it's coming down your pants.